matrix algebra. Now, I know that might sound like a pretty intense math concept, but really, it's just the ultimate tool for organizing chaotic data. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to dive into the fascinating world of discrete structures and see exactly how massive blocks of linear equations can be transformed from total logistical nightmares into highly efficient, solvable systems. If you've ever stared at a wall of linear equations and just felt totally overwhelmed by all that data, you are absolutely in the right place.
So, here is our roadmap for mastering these discrete structures today. 1. Decoding the matrix. 2. Matrix types and shapes. 3. The rules of arithmetic. 4. Calculating the determinant. And finally, number 5, solving systems of equations. Let's just jump right in.
Section 1. Decoding the matrix. Taming the chaos. So, picture this. You're faced with a massive, messy system of numbers and variables, and you really have to ask yourself, how can we possibly process all of this without getting completely lost in the weeds? I mean, in standard algebra, keeping track of dozens of variables across dozens of equations is literally a logistical nightmare. We desperately need a better system. Enter our hero, the matrix. Simply put, a matrix is just a rectangular array of numbers. It actually functions exactly like an ultra-efficient filing cabinet, or maybe think of it as a highly structured spreadsheet for your equations. By stripping away all those messy variables and just looking at the raw numbers arranged in a neat, rectangular grid, we can start manipulating massive amounts of data with incredible precision.
And this whole concept really hinges on what we call the order of a matrix, which is strictly defined by its rows and columns. Say you have a 3x2 matrix, for instance. Every single element inside that grid has a specific, unique address based on its row and column position. So you've got A11 for the first row, first column, or A12 for the first row, second column. It is the ultimate organizational system, where every single number has an exact assigned seat.
Moving right along to Section 2, Matrix Types and Shapes, the cast of characters.
Because not all grids are created equal, you're going to run into a few foundational shapes pretty often in discrete structures. First, you have your square matrix, which is perfectly balanced with an equal number of rows and columns. Then there's the zero matrix, where literally every single element is just zero. There's the transpose, which you get by completely swapping a matrix's rows with its columns. But you really want to pay special attention to the identity matrix. It's got this diagonal line of ones from top left to bottom right, with zeros everywhere else. This specific shape effectively acts as the number 1 in matrix operations, so any matrix A multiplied by the identity matrix I just equals A.
All right, Section 3. The rules of arithmetic, equipping our weapons.
With our cast of characters introduced, we need to look at how basic arithmetic operates a little differently when you're dealing with entire grids of numbers. When it comes to addition and subtraction, the rule's actually incredibly simple, but it is strict. Matrices absolutely must have the exact same dimensions. You can't just add a 3x2 matrix to a 2x2 matrix. No way. But if the dimensions match perfectly, you just seamlessly combine the corresponding numbers in each exact position. Top left adds to top left, bottom right adds to bottom right. It's incredibly clean, direct, and highly logical.
Now, multiplying a whole matrix by a single number, which we call a scalar, is a breeze. You just multiply every element inside by that number. Easy. But matrix to matrix multiplication, that's a different beast entirely. It requires specific step-by-step dimension matching for it to even be mathematically possible. You can only multiply two matrices if the number of columns in the first matrix perfectly matches the number of rows in the second matrix. If they do not match, the operation simply cannot happen. Full stop.
And this brings us to a real mathematical plot twist. We all know standard multiplication is commutative, right? Like 3 times 4 is exactly the same as 4 times 3. But because of those extremely strict dimension matching rules we just talked about, matrix multiplication is usually not commutative. Matrix A times matrix B does not equal matrix B times matrix A. It's a fundamental shift in how we have to think about multiplying.
Which leads us to Section 4, Calculating the Determinant, the matrix's DNA.
To truly unlock the power of a matrix and eventually use it to actually solve equations, we have to calculate this crucial value. You can really think of the determinant as the matrix's unique DNA. Basically, we take this entire grid of numbers, run a very specific calculation on it, and extract a single critical number that dictates exactly how the entire grid is going to behave. It gives us the fundamental value or scaling factor of that square matrix, and without it, we literally cannot move forward to any complex problem solving.
Luckily, for your standard 2x2 square matrix, calculating this DNA is beautifully simple.
You basically just cross-multiply the diagonals and subtract them. So you multiply the top left element A by the bottom right element D, and then you subtract the product of the top right C and bottom left B. The formula is quite simply AD minus BC. One quick calculation, and boom, you've unlocked the matrix's core value.
But here's the catch, and it's a big one. The number you get from that calculation determines everything. If you do the math and find your determinant is exactly 0, you can stop right there. Your matrix is classified as singular. This means the system either has no solution or infinitely many solutions, and it has no inverse. However, a non-zero determinant means your matrix is non-singular, and that gives you the green light to move forward and find a unique solution.
And finally, Section 5, Solving Systems of Equations, the final boss.
So let's see how all of this builds to our ultimate payoff, solving complex linear equations, which we represent mathematically as matrix A times variables x equals constants b. Since we literally can't just divide matrices, we beat this complex system using two clear alternative steps. First, we find the inverse of the matrix, annotated as a to the negative 1. Finding this inverse is basically the matrix equivalent of dividing. Second, we multiply both sides of our equation by this newly found inverse. This brilliantly isolates our variables, leaving us with our answer, x equals the inverse of a times b.
And this right here is where it all clicks together perfectly. The actual formula for finding that inverse, which is 1 divided by the determinant, multiplied by the adjoint of the matrix, brilliantly illustrates exactly why we needed to find the determinant in the first place. The determinant acts directly as the denominator in this fraction. So this proves exactly why a determinant of 0 would completely break our system, because as we all know, you can never, ever divide by 0.
So, by transforming a chaotic mess of variables into clean grids, manipulating them with strict arithmetic rules, and utilizing the determinant to find the inverse, we have solved the seemingly impossible. And now that you understand the sheer mechanics of it, it really leaves you wondering, from the mind-blowing 3D graphics on your screens to massive, complex global logistics networks, how are these invisible, highly efficient mathematical grids quietly organizing the complex modern world around you every single day?